everyone just saw the trailer. Cool house, creepy guy on a boat, confused neurosurgeon. The show is so much more than that, so why don't you set the stage, since we haven't seen a whole episode, for what the show is about.
Well, I probably shouldn't be the one talking about what the show is about. I'm very privileged in that we're working on a number of Anne Rice projects at the same time. But what's wonderful, each one of these books is completely different and yet somehow tied together. And this is, for me, it's so much about empowerment. It's about understanding your worth and understanding the forces that are against you and discovering who you are, all from a female perspective, which of course I can't contribute to. So both the writers, creators right here can probably answer that a lot better than I.
Well, I mean, yeah, Esther, go for it. Also, and I'm curious to know, because I'm, obviously the best-selling book series, but I'm curious also what were the themes of the books that you were the most looking forward to exploring?
I mean, I think it's a show about power. It's a show about coming into your power and asking yourself the question, when I discover that I have this power, what will I do with it? The power that our fantastic and amazing character, Rowan, is discovering is that she has not just a power to heal as a doctor, but also a power to destroy, and that can be intoxicating, and so she wants to control it, and the show is really about, will she control it or not?
Michelle, why are we so obsessed with witches?
Yes, witches!
Yes, exactly. Yay, witches. They are fascinating, and for so many reasons. And when Esther and I first got this material, we saw the lead character was a doctor. We thought, wow, that's curious in such a supernatural kind of world. But it turns out to be very, very deliberate, because witches going back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago were healers. That's how they started, and they were enormously powerful. And that was threatening to the patriarchy. And so they became demonized as witches. And so we got very excited about this whole notion, especially given in this kind of inflection point that we're living in, where certain power structures seem to be sort of crumbling, and new ones are probably coming up to take their place. And will women have a very central role?
Yes,
in how,
we will!
And how these new systems will be structured. So witches are just fun, sexy, powerful, and great in every way, but this is also really tied to some very real things that we got very excited about writing about.
Alex, leading witch, tell us what drew you to the character of Rowan.
The idea of the character being a neurosurgeon and also being quite lost and quite a bit of a mess at the same time as being very together and independent and all of that. And then also discovering that she has this family she doesn't have and that she's a witch. All of that for an actress it's incredibly complex and I think quite relatable. And as a woman coming up in this business too, I think you don't discover that you're a witch, obviously, but as you grow up, you can be all those different things. So it felt very multi-layered, very complex, and then also really fun because we got to do crazy things and throw in some magic.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting with what Michelle just said also. It's, I think of her when she's a neurosurgeon, there are all of these, even in her non-witch life, these patriarchal structures in place that she has to fight against that are sort of, keeping her down a little bit. And then she has to then duplicate that in a whole other world.
That's right. I think that even when you first meet Rowan, and you guys will see when you see the episodes, despite being this incredibly talented neurosurgeon and an incredibly well-spoken, intelligent person, she still dealing with, she's dealing with, yeah, I guess you can call it the patriarchy, you can call it, but she's dealing with
Patriarchy.
just being a young woman, and what does that mean? And then you get to really just go off running and her finding her power and figuring out how to use it, and is she good and is she bad, and how does she justify her own behavior, and what does she do with all of this power that she has, including just in the regular world of being a neurosurgeon, and then also when she discovers who she really is.
Yeah, and what's it like to be underestimated? Harry, let's talk about Portland Mayfiar. He is not a shrinking violet. We see him with a snake in episode 1, which you all will see when he's introduced. What did you love about this character? Was it just a blast to like go all in with someone like him?
Well, Portland is an enigma. He is the patriarch, and we do have an issue between us, being the patriarch of the family. And I was drawn to the character because I was never quite sure whether he was good or evil. And there's a lot in this show about good and evil, of course, because it's about witches and all that. And I didn't find out really how potentially evil he was until I read episode 7, which was quite a ways into shooting when I found out, oh my God, who is this person that I'm playing? And thank you for that, by the way. No, I love it. No, it's fantastic. And I also get to be the life of the party. I mean, I'm a Southern gentleman who likes his wine and his women. You know, sometimes the wrong women, but I won't get into that. You'll have to see that on the show.
Jack Lasher, iconic character. He's described as a shape-shifting spirit. What did the producers tell you about this Lasher in this series, and what questions did you have about him?
I had a lot of questions, but luckily I was in amazing hands. Because Lasher is, you know, in the books, he's described as this sort of dark entity, shape-shifting spirit that's conjured and inherited by the witches in progression. But you know, it's interesting because when you have a character that's described one way in a book, it's how do you take that and put that on the screen? And I thought that was the most interesting part of our conversations was how do we get creative, how do we stay true to Anne Rice, but at the same time, how do we show this to a modern audience to make Lasher exciting and make him, when I say real, it's like how do you sort of stay on top of something which is described as a spirit. But luckily, we've got such an amazing team and crew of people that are putting this show together, and we had such phenomenal creators, and our wonderful first director, Mike Uppendahl, just really wanted to explore and go deep into these characters and sort of say, what can we do? What can we do fun, exciting? Let's shock the audience, let's make it scary, let's make it dark, and let's make it sexy, let's stay true to Rice. And, you know, not a bad person to stay true to.
No, absolutely. Tongai Cyprian is a combination of a couple of characters that people might recognize in the books. Tell me about him, tell me about who he is, and was it a relief that you got to play a couple of characters to, you know, glue it together?
First off, this is awesome. You want to get to see this stuff on YouTube, you know what I mean? So great to be here. But yes, Cyprian Reed, he's a combination of Aaron and Michael. He works for the Telemaster.
Yes!
She knows. And so, you know, the job of the Telemaster is obviously to observe supernatural activities, whether it's through a person or a group of people, and, you know, if necessary, we intervene. And so, you know, he's obviously tasked with looking out for Rowan, and then they go through this journey of trying to discover who Rowan is, what's going on in her life, what the connection is to the family, to Lasher, and how does that affect Cyprian.
Yeah.